The rain fell softly against the old window pane, tracing thin silver lines down the glass. Inside the small house, the air was still, heavy with the scent of wet earth and fading incense. A photograph sat on the table, framed in gold, showing a smiling boy with bright eyes and missing teeth. Beside it, a candle flickered weakly, its flame trembling each time the wind whispered through the cracks. Maria sat near the window, her fingers clutching a damp handkerchief. Her eyes were swollen, her breath shallow, as though each inhale scraped against her chest. The clock ticked slowly on the wall, its sound sharp, echoing through the silence like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Outside, the street was empty. No footsteps, no laughter, no familiar voice calling her name. Only the rain. It was the same rain that fell on the night he left. The same night she stood by the door, begging him to come home early. He had smiled, kissed her forehead, and said he would return before dinner. But he never did. She still remembered the knock that came hours later. The trembling hands of the officer. The soft, rehearsed words that shattered her world. Now, years had passed, yet the sound of that knock still echoed in her dreams. She rose from the chair and moved toward the hallway. The floor creaked beneath her bare feet. The walls seemed to close in, whispering with memories she could not escape. On the shelf, his old toy car rested where he had left it. Its paint was chipped, one wheel missing, but she could not bear to move it. She reached out, tracing its shape with trembling fingers. A faint sound broke the silence. A soft thud. It came from the front door. Maria froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Another thud, louder this time. Her heart pounded, each beat louder than the rain. She turned slowly toward the sound. The candlelight flickered wildly, casting long shadows across the floor. A shadow moved near the door. A shape, faint and unsteady, like someone standing on the porch. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Who is there?" No reply, only the dripping of rainwater from the roof. Her hands shook as she reached for the doorknob. It was cold, almost icy, beneath her touch. She pulled it open, just a crack. Wind rushed in, carrying the scent of rain and something else. Something familiar. Her eyes widened. A small pair of muddy shoes rested on the doorstep. Children's shoes. Worn. Soaked. Exactly like the ones her son had worn that night. Maria's breath faltered as she stepped closer. The candle behind her flickered again, then went out. Darkness swallowed the room, and in that darkness, she heard it. A soft, broken whisper. "Mother." Her heart lurched. That voice. It was faint, trembling, yet painfully familiar. She stumbled backward, her trembling hands searching for the wall behind her. Her eyes strained to see through the darkness, but the shadows seemed to breathe, shifting, curling like smoke. The word echoed again. "Mother." This time it was closer. So close that she could feel the warmth of breath against her cheek. Her pulse roared in her ears. Her knees felt weak, her body frozen between disbelief and terror. Her lips parted, her voice barely escaping. "Michael." The name hung in the air like a forgotten prayer. Silence followed. Then, slowly, she heard the faint squeak of those small shoes moving across the wooden floor. Step, step, each one deliberate, each one heavier than the last. Her hands groped blindly for the candle on the table, but the matchbox slipped from her fingers and fell to the ground. The sharp clatter made her flinch. When she looked up again, she saw it. A shape in the darkness. Small, still, the outline of a boy standing at the edge of the light from the window. Rain trickled down the glass behind him, making it seem as if the world outside was melting away. Maria took a shaky breath. Her chest ached with every inhale, as if her ribs were tightening around her heart. "Michael," she whispered again. "Is that you?" The boy lifted his head. His face glowed faintly in the dim light, pale as moonlight. Wet hair clung to his forehead. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, slowly, he raised his right hand. Something glimmered between his fingers. It was a small silver locket. The same locket she had given him on his 10th birthday. Inside it was a picture of the two of them, smiling on a sunny afternoon by the sea. Her breath caught. That locket had been buried with him. She had placed it in his coffin herself. The air around her grew colder. The smell of rain was now mixed with something else, something faintly metallic, like rust or blood. She wanted to move, to run, but her legs refused. The boy took another step forward. His clothes dripped water onto the floor, forming a dark, spreading pool. He stopped just a few feet away. Maria's voice cracked. "My son, where have you been?" The boy blinked slowly, his eyes dull and distant. "I was waiting," he said softly. His voice was quiet, fragile, yet it pierced through her like a blade. "Waiting where?" she asked, her tears blurring his image. "In the dark," he answered. "You promised you would come." Her throat tightened. Her mind spun back to the night of the accident, the rain, the flashing lights, the sirens, the words she never said because she was too late. She had promised him she would pick him up from school that day. But she had been late. Too late. The car that struck him never stopped. He had waited for her in the rain. He had waited until the world went dark. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the floor. "I am so sorry," she cried. "I wanted to be there. I wanted to save you." The boy tilted his head slightly, as if trying to understand. The candle on the table flickered back to life, its small flame rising again without a match. In the light, she saw his face more clearly. His cheeks were pale, his lips tinged blue, and his eyes, those once bright, laughing eyes, were hollow, filled with an endless, aching sadness. He reached out his hand toward her. His skin looked translucent, almost glowing from within. "Do not cry, mother," he whispered. "You said you would not cry anymore." Her tears fell harder, landing in the puddle between them. She wanted to touch him, to hold him, but she was terrified he might disappear if she did. "Please," she said, "let me see you. Let me hold you once more." The boy's hand trembled. For a brief moment, his expression softened, the faintest shadow of the smile she remembered. Then, the wind howled through the open door. The candle's flame stretched, flickered, and went out again. Darkness swallowed the room once more. Maria gasped, her hands reaching blindly into the emptiness. "Michael!" she screamed. No answer, only the sound of rain pouring harder, drumming against the roof like 1,000 heartbeats. When lightning flashed, for a split second, she saw him again, standing by the door, looking back at her. And then, he was gone. The shoes were gone. The puddle on the floor had vanished. Only the faint smell of rain and the glint of the locket remained. It lay on the floor beside her, open, the photograph inside wet but intact. Maria lifted it with trembling fingers. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass of the frame. And for the first time, she noticed something new in the picture. Behind her smiling face in the photograph, a faint, blurred shadow of a boy stood. Not the one she remembered. Older, watching her. Tears filled her eyes as she clutched the locket to her chest. The clock on the wall began to tick again, though she had not wound it in years. Tick, tick, tick. Outside, the rain softened to a drizzle. And from the corner of the house, a single sound echoed, soft, rhythmic, like the laughter of a child echoing through the walls. Maria froze, listening, her heart torn between fear and longing. Her lips trembled as she whispered into the empty room. "Michael, are you still here?" The laughter stopped. Then, faintly, a whisper drifted through the darkness once more. "I never left, Mother." Maria stood motionless, her heart heavy yet strangely calm. The air around her had shifted, no longer cold, no longer suffocating. It felt gentle, the kind of stillness that follows after a storm. She closed her eyes and let the silence fill her chest. For the first time in years, the ache inside her began to soften. She walked toward the window, the one where she had waited so many nights, staring at the street that never brought him home. The clouds outside began to part. A thin ray of morning light slipped through, spilling across the floor where the puddle had been. It glimmered against the locket in her palm, making the small silver heart shine as if alive. Maria smiled faintly through her tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for finding your way back." A soft warmth touched her shoulder. It was not the sun, nor the wind. It was something gentler, something familiar. For a brief moment, she felt the weight of a small hand resting there, the same way he used to when he was frightened. Then, it was gone. But the warmth remained. Maria knelt beside the window and placed the locket on the sill. Its open face caught the sunlight, reflecting two smiles that would never fade. She whispered a prayer, her voice steady, her heart no longer drowning in sorrow. The clock chimed softly, marking the hour. Maria rose, wiped her cheeks, and looked once more at the photograph on the table. The boy's smile seemed brighter now, his eyes full of light. Outside, the rain had stopped completely. The garden shimmered with droplets like scattered diamonds. And for the first time since that terrible night, the house no longer felt empty. It felt alive. She turned toward the door, the faint scent of rain still lingering in the air, and whispered, "Rest now, my son." As she walked away, a gentle breeze moved through the room, brushing against the candle's flame. It flickered once more, steady, calm, peaceful. Maria smiled, her tears now quiet, falling not from grief but from release. Somewhere beyond the walls of her little house, where light met shadow, a child's laughter echoed one last time, soft, pure, and free. And in that sound, Maria finally found her peace.